Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day? Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Listen, we are about to be getting into it on this Money Making Wednesday. We are going to be talking about why your good salary does not equal security. We are going to be talking about even if you make the good six figures in your job, like I did, why that is not the same as security. Specifically, we're going to be talking about why high income doesn't automatically equal financial security. We're going to be getting into the hidden risk that so many women face when all income comes from one source. We're going to be talking about what layoffs, restructures, and leadership changes taught me about income stability. We're going to be talking about why your skills may already be valuable enough to start a second stream of income. We're going to be getting into the difference between earned income and owned income. And I really like this topic as a marketer, the difference between earned and owned. So if you are watching live, if you are watching the replay, you'll want to stick around for that part of the conversation. We're going to be talking about why waiting for the perfect time keeps women financially exposed. We're going to get into the mindset shift that changes how you think about monetizing your skills. We're going to talk about what it looks like to build a coaching offer without starting from scratch. So, by the end of this conversation, you will understand why building multiple income streams is not about greed. It's about options, it's about stability, it's about ownership, and it is about protecting your future and your legacy. Okay, so we have a lot of content that we are getting into today. But before we get started, I have to do a quick tech check before we get into today's conversation. So if you can see and if you can hear me, if you can see and if you can hear me, okay, please drop a yes in the comments and let me know where you're watching from. Happy Wednesday. Happy Money Making Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Wednesdays over here at Nick at noon, we are all about money. So in today's conversation, this is one that I think every woman needs to hear, especially right now, because we're talking about why one income stream is never enough. And I really want y'all to stay with me through the end of this conversation because I'm not talking about this from a place of fear or negativity or low vibrations or anti-corporate rhetoric, because that is not what this is. If that's what you thought this is, that's not what this is. I'm going to be talking about this from the perspective of a woman who has spent years doing everything quote unquote right. For example, I got the degrees, I built the career, and I'm literally talking about me. I climbed the ladder, I held leadership positions, I built a strong professional reputation. I did all the things that professional women are taught to do in order to create stability. And yet, earlier this year, the time that this video is being recorded, I still found myself sitting in a Zoom meeting that changed everything in 15 minutes. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because I think a lot of women still believe that job security and financial security are the same thing, and they're not. They're connected, obviously, but they're not the same thing because job security depends on someone continuing to choose you. You're relying on someone to continue to choose you. Whereas financial security is about what happens when your circumstances change. What happens when that person decides not to choose you anymore? That's what financial security is. And that is the conversation that I want us to have today. That is the conversation that I want us to have today. So, if you haven't already, I want you to go get your notebook and your pens or whatever it is that you take notes on because we're about to get into it. Share this episode with your biz bestie. And if you have any questions or comments as we're going through this content, I want you to drop it in the chat if you are watching live. If you are watching on the replay, you can go ahead and leave your questions or your feedback or whatever it is that you have to say. You can just drop that in the comments and I will get to it at the appropriate time. If you're watching live, I will be pausing periodically just to see if there's any questions or comments or feedback that comes in. But if you're watching on the replay, just drop it in the comment section and I will get to it. Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into coaching, income, and digital products so they can build multiple income streams that are beyond a single paycheck. And before we get into today's episode, I do have to mention, of course, that Her Income Lab is coming up. Her Income Lab, we are scheduled to go live on May 30th, and it's going to be a live working session. It's going to be where women are building their high ticket coaching offer in real time. And I want you to know that this is not another webinar. This is not a session where you'll take notes and figure it out later, because we're going to be building your offer live in that room. When you leave Her Income Lab, you're going to have a clearly defined offer. You're going to have your pricing, your positioning, your pitch, and you're going to have a second income stream in motion. Waitlist pricing for Her Income Lab ends on Sunday, May 10th, and there are only 30 seats available for this. So what I'm doing as a special incentive is the first 20 women who register, you're going to be entered into a raffle for a full ticket reimbursement. So if you've been sitting on your skills, sitting on your ideas, and sitting on the thing that people keep telling you that you need to charge for, the link for Her Income Lab is below, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. Okay, enough of that. Are y'all ready to get into this conversation? Like I said at the beginning, it's going to be juicy because we're going to be talking about, yeah, you got a good salary, but is it really the same as security? Well, let's get into it. Is it okay if I start this conversation with a question? Is that okay with you? How many of you grew up believing that the ultimate financial goal was getting a good, stable job and then staying there? Drop a yes in the comments if that was the messaging you were raised with, because I know I'm not the only one. I was taught that stability came from employment. I was taught that if you worked hard enough, if you performed well enough, if you stayed loyal enough, and if you built a respectable enough career, that you would be secure. That was literally the blueprint. And for a long time, that blueprint made sense because there was a time in our nation's history when corporate loyalty and long-term employment, they were much more closely tied together. But let's be honest, the economy has changed, companies have changed, the workforce has changed, and I believe many women are still trying to build financial stability using an outdated understanding of how employment truly works now. Because right now, today, companies restructure quickly. Entire departments are disappearing overnight. Leadership is changing constantly. Budget shifts, priority shifts, market shifts. And the people who are highly educated, highly accomplished, highly experienced, and highly valuable, they're still walking into meetings every single day and finding out that their role no longer exists. That is the reality of the workforce that we live in today. And I believe one of the hardest truths for women to fully accept is this: your intelligence, it does not exempt you from organizational decisions. Your talent does not exempt you. Your loyalty does not exempt you. Your work ethic does not exempt you. And I know that might be uncomfortable because many of us were taught to believe that being exceptional was protection. I believed it. Do you believe that? Because if you do, you're not alone. But organizational decisions are often financial decisions. They're strategic decisions and they're operational decisions. So they're not always personal reflections of your value. It feels personal in the moment, and it might feel personal in the next moment after that. But these decisions, they're not always personal reflections of your value. It's not personal, it's business. We've heard that before. Now, I really want y'all to hear me when I say what I'm about to say, because this is important. I'm not saying that jobs are bad. And I'm not saying that entrepreneurship is easy. And I'm definitely not saying everyone should quit their job tomorrow, because that's not what we do over here at Her Income Edit. We do not subscribe to hustle culture, and we are not encouraging women to walk away from stability without strategy. That is not what this is about. But what I am saying is that your 9 to 5 was never meant to be your only plan. And I believe for some women, that sentence I just said creates emotional tension because we have tied so much of our identity in our careers, especially as high achieving women, especially as women who have spent years building impressive careers and becoming the dependable person in every single room you enter. Listen, I belong to organizations where the women literally lead with their accomplishments, with the boards they sit on, with the titles that they have in their jobs. So I understand it. Like, I get it. Like, I get that. But what I want you to understand is a job and a financial strategy, they're not the same thing. And I am not a financial strategist. I am not a financial advisor, but I do understand that just because you have a good salary, it's not the same as financial security. A salary is income, absolutely 100%. But ownership, that's what creates leverage. Ownership creates options. Over ownership, it creates breathing room. And those are very, 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 very different things. Can I get personal with y'all for a minute? Thanks so much for the love on YouTube. Can I get personal with y'all for a minute? So earlier this year, when I got the calendar invite and my corporate role ended, I realized something at even a deeper level than I had already realized it before. And the reason that I didn't panic as much, it wasn't because I had every detail figured out. And it wasn't because I had this huge business that I had already built. It was because I had already started building something outside of my 9 to 5. I had already started doing that when I got laid off. I'd been doing it for months secretly, but I've been doing it for months. I tell the whole layoff story in another episode of Nick at Noon. So if you haven't heard it, I encourage you to go watch it. I think the title is literally something like "I Got Laid Off." Watch that. You can get the whole story. It's on replay on my YouTube channel. But the reason that I didn't panic was because it wasn't because I had every detail figured out, and it wasn't because I had this big business that I had built. It was because I had already started building something on the side. I had already started creating additional streams of income that were tied to my own skills and expertise, instead of relying entirely on one company for my future. And I believe more women need to understand that part before life forces you to. So it doesn't matter if it's the professional volatility that exists in our world today, or if it's something that happens to you personally. Because when all of your income is tied to one source, one decision can disrupt your entire financial life within minutes. Within minutes. And I spend a lot of time talking about careers, but I could also be talking to the stay-at-home parent whose complete financial income is tied to one source through the other parent, right? I'm talking about one restructure, one acquisition, one leadership change, one economic downturn, one budget cut. Suddenly the stability you thought you had, it starts to feel very fragile, whether it happens to you or whether it happens to your partner. And I think this is why conversations about multiple streams of income matter so much right now. Not because women are greedy or because everyone out here is trying to become a billionaire overnight. It's because multiple streams of income create stability in a way that one stream alone often just can't. Like it just can't. And for many women, multiple streams of income are not about luxury first. It's about security first. It's about safety first. It's about reducing vulnerability and creating options. Multiple streams of income are about making sure your entire future isn't sitting inside someone else's organizational chart. And I believe a lot of women, they know this intellectually, but they haven't quite emotionally accepted the urgency of this yet. Because emotionally, many women still associate employment with safety. That's the way I was raised. I don't know if you were raised that way, but that's the way I was taught. So even when the evidence all around us is screaming at us and it's constantly telling us a different story, we still believe that. Now, let's talk about math for a second. I always get a little nervous, a little flustered when we talk about math around here because math is not my strong suit, and I feel like I'm exposing myself by trying to do numbers real quick off the top of my head. But we're going to talk about some math because I believe that sometimes multiple streams of income, it becomes one of those phrases that people just, haphazardly, or maybe haphazardly isn't the right word. They just repeat it without fully thinking through what it actually means. So let's talk about it. If your household primarily depends on one source of income and that source disappears tomorrow, what happens? What happens? And I don't want to talk about this theoretically. I want to talk about it in practical terms. How long will it take before stress enters the conversation? How long? How long would it take before lifestyle changes enter the conversation? Let me tell you something. I don't know about you, but I like my lifestyle. I'm comfortable. I don't want it changing. So how long will it take? How long will it take before fear enters the conversation? And I know those questions can feel very heavy, but the fact is, avoiding reality, it doesn't protect you. It just delays preparation. If this video has given you something to think about so far, I want you to give it a thumbs up. One of the biggest mindset shifts I think that we as women, we need to make is understanding that building another income stream, it is not betrayal. It is not an act of disloyalty. It is preparation. Because here's the deal. You can love your career, you can love your job, you can love your company, and still understand that that job shouldn't be your only financial strategy. Those things can coexist. Listen, I loved my job. Loved my job. I was one of the company's biggest cheerleaders, but I was still building something on the side. Those things can and should coexist. And I believe that so many women are incredibly accomplished while still being financially exposed because all of their income is tied to one source. And that right there is the tension. High income and financial security are not automatically the same thing. And that is exactly what we're talking about here today. Somebody who's making six figures with one income can still be financially vulnerable if all that income disappears at once. On the flip side, someone making less money overall, but with multiple streams of income, they might have far more stability because their risk is distributed. And I don't want you to miss that because that matters. Now, here's where I think this conversation starts getting exciting instead of scary. Because I don't want you to leave this conversation feeling hopeless. I want you to leave this conversation realizing that that you already have more leverage than you think you do. Because your skills are your backup plan, they're your leverage, and they are your next stream of income if you let them be. And I believe one of the biggest mindset shifts women need to make right now is realizing that your job, it is not the only marketplace for your skills. It's not the only marketplace for your skills. Every single day, women are solving problems inside organizations that people would absolutely pay to help solve outside of those organizations. And at the same time, you're getting paid by that organization. Thanks so much for the love on YouTube. You are leading teams, you are managing systems, you are improving communications, you are building processes, you are organizing operations, you're mentoring people, you're navigating transitions, you're creating strategy, you're solving problems. And then so many women, they clock out of their job and then they act like none of what I just described has value outside of their salary, and it does. And I think too many women underestimate their market value because what comes to them naturally, what feels second nature to them, it just feels ordinary. It feels boring. It feels like, girl, that's just what I do. But here's the thing. What's common to you, it doesn't mean that it's common to everybody else. And that right there is important, and I don't want you to miss it. The thing that feels so easy to you, so natural to you, it might be the exact thing that someone else is struggling to figure out. And I think that this is one of the reasons that coaching becomes such a powerful second income stream for women, particularly. Because coaching it's not about becoming someone completely different. It's about packaging what you already know in a way that creates transformation for other people. And I know that some people are going to hear the word coach and they immediately disconnect from it because they picture a very specific type of online personality. But here's the thing. Coaching at its core is nothing but problem solving. That's it. And the bottom line is this. People pay for guidance. People pay for support. People pay for frameworks. People pay for shortcuts to results. People pay for accountability. People pay for expertise. And the thing about it is those things exist in every industry, not just the coaching industry. And I think one of the reasons coaching feels so accessible for women once they fully understand what it is, because it starts with the skills that you already have. You don't need to become a totally different person. You don't need to go reinvent yourself from scratch. And over here at Her Income Edit, we don't believe in starting over from scratch. We believe in leverage. We believe in leveraging what you already have. We believe in leveraging what already exists. We believe in leveraging your skills, your experience, your perspective, your results. We believe in leveraging your professional background because that is the vehicle. And honestly, I believe this is where so many women finally start to see the possibility, because the issue is usually not a lack of qualification. The issue is recognizing that you're already qualified enough to start. You're already qualified. Now, I want to talk about something that might make you go, things that make you go, I want to talk about why so many women delay building another stream of income, even when they know they need one. Things that make you go, Y'all remember that song? I think that was Arsenio Hall had that on his show. But anyway, because I want to talk about this because I don't think the issue is capability. I think the issue is hesitation. I think that women overthink. I think women second guess. I think women wait for perfect clarity. I think women wait for perfect timing. I think women wait until they feel ready. And meanwhile, while they're doing all of that, years, literally years pass them by. Your idea stays in your notebook, your offer stays in your head, your skills stay attached to only one employer. And I believe part of the reason that this happens is because high achieving women are so used to environments with clear expectations and clear validation. When you went to college, you had a rubric, you had an agreement that was in the form of a syllabus. At your job, you have performance reviews. And these are systems that literally tell you when you're doing well and when you're not doing so well. But building something on your own, it requires a different relationship with uncertainty. And uncertainty feels uncomfortable when you have spent years being rewarded for predictability. Listen, I was all about the grades when I was in college. I graduated magna cum laude. I literally had 1B on my entire transcript. So I know exactly how uncomfortable this feels, because I too have spent years being rewarded for being predictable. When you are an employee, you are rewarded for being predictable. As a high achieving woman, I was trained to be rewarded for being predictable. But I really need you to understand this. Clarity often comes through movement, not before it. So you cannot think your way to momentum. You have to move your way into momentum. And I believe so many women don't need another idea. You don't need another idea. You don't need another idea. What you need is a second stream of income. And that's a different conversation. Because there are women who have spent years consuming information about entrepreneurship without ever making a decision. If that is you, understand that you are not alone. You might be watching content, you're saving posts, you're buying courses, and you're thinking, you're visualizing, you're dreaming about the possibilities, you're writing about them in your journal. But you're never building, packaging, or selling. And eventually the years start to stack up. Listen, the years are going to go by. Time is going to go by whether you take action or not. But here's the thing. There are women with less experience than you. They are monetizing their skills because they made a decision before they felt fully ready. Somebody drop ready in the comments. And I know, listen, I used to watch workout videos back a long time ago. and DVDs, back when DVDs were a thing, right? And the workout person that I used to work out with, they always used to say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And they would say it like right at the moment where you would feel your muscles just starting to give out because you have done so many reps. They would say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that is something that you'll have to get used to when you move from the identity of employer into entrepreneurship. And I know a lot of what I'm saying today is uncomfortable to hear, but I think it's important because at some point, women have to stop waiting for permission to see themselves as capable of building something beyond their job title. And honestly, I believe that identity shift is one of the hardest parts. It is one, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Somebody drop uncomfortable in the comments. Many women have spent years tying their identity to employment, to their role, to their title, to their organization, to their position. I know so many of those women in my personal life right now. Their badge is all of those things that I just mentioned. That is their badge. But here's the thing, entrepreneurship forces you to reconnect with your own value outside of institutional validation and outside of other people's opinions. And that right there is powerful work, because eventually the shift becomes, I don't just work somewhere, I create value. Can you feel the difference in that? If you can feel the difference in that, give this video a thumbs up. And the other part is, there is something so deeply empowering about realizing that you can create income outside of your job. The first time someone pays you for your skills outside of your job, it changes something psychologically. Woo, baby, trust me when I say, because you suddenly realize that your value exists beyond your salary. The first time somebody paid me for my skills years ago, when I started transitioning into coaching, the first time somebody paid me, it was $997. I feel like I've told this story before. $997 was what I was charging for my course. And it was a webinar, and I was on that webinar for an hour. And when I say I delivered the value, honey, like if you feel the energy in these lives, you have to catch me in like a working session, like a webinar or her income lab, for example, because the energy there is that much better. But anyway, so it was a webinar, and at the end of the webinar, of course, I did my call to action, and somebody paid me. It was one person that I converted. I don't think it was that many people on that webinar, but one person converted, and she paid me $997. And when I realized that I had made $997 in 1 hour, what? You couldn't tell me nothing. You could not tell me anything. And I had a job at the time. So I was doing this kind of moonlighting, side hustling, on whatever you want to call it. I was doing it on the side. And I walked in the next day to work, baby. I wish somebody would. I just made $1,000 in 1 hour. Raise your hand if you made $1,000 in 1 hour last night. Okay. So the thing is, it changes how you move. It changes how you move. It changes how you negotiate. It changes how you see your own value. It changes your confidence. It literally changes your relationship with risk, because options change people. I knew I had options. I knew that I could make $1,000 in an hour because I just did it. Options change people. And I believe that word keeps coming up for me in this season of my life. Options. Somebody drop options in the comments. Not panic, not hustle, not burnout. Options. That word keeps coming up for me in this season. Is it coming up for you? I'm talking about the ability to make decisions from alignment instead of desperation, or the ability to pivot if your circumstances change. I'm talking about the ability to create income beyond one organizational structure, because that matters. And honestly, I believe many women are hungry for exactly that without even fully realizing it. I believe women are craving more than just money. They're craving ownership, more flexibility, more alignment, and more control over their future and their legacy. And that's why I believe conversations around coaching resonate so deeply right now, especially for women, because coaching sits at the intersection of income, expertise, impact, flexibility, and ownership. Now, I want to be honest. Does that mean that coaching is easy? No, it doesn't. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining on YouTube. It doesn't mean that coaching is easy, because building anything requires consistency. But I think so many women, they overestimate the difficulty of starting while underestimating the risk of remaining financially dependent on one source forever. And that is the trade-off. And I believe preparation is one of the greatest forms of self-respect that you can give to your own self. Preparing before you desperately need to, building before panic enters the conversation, and creating options before life forces your hand to. All of that matters. And that is exactly why I built her income lab the way that I did, because I realized women don't need more information. We have information. We have so much information that is literally coming at us every single day. And every day I see more faceless social media influencers giving me information that I didn't even think that I needed about the case studies of Saks and Adidas and all these things, like so much information. So we don't need more information. I think we need implementation. Like, what are you doing with the information that you're getting? Are you implementing it, or are you just stacking it? I believe that women need a room where decisions finally get made, because so many women already know what they would coach on. Like, you already know what it is. You've known for years. It's the thing that people constantly come to you for help with. It's the thing that you solve naturally. It's the thing that you explain so easily. But every time you sit down to build your offer, you overthink it, you revise it, you delay it, you start and stop, and then you start and then you stop, and you do this over and over and over again. And then guess what happens? Another quarter passes, another year passes, another performance review passes. The time is going to pass regardless whether you make a decision or not. But the thing about it is, the skill that you have that is sitting inside your employer, instead of generating additional income for you, that skill is just sitting there, and it could also be doing double duty. And that is exactly why I'm hosting her income lab, because this is not a take notes and revisit it later session. This is not a watch and think about it session. We will be building your offer in the room. We are going to work through: who do you serve? What problem do you solve? How is your offer structured? What is the transformation you provide? What's the price of your offer? And how do you explain what you do clearly? I'm talking about your offer done. Because I believe one of the biggest breakthroughs women experience is realizing they never lacked ideas. They just lacked a space where the decisions had to happen. And sometimes 3 focused hours of work can move you further in your life than 3 years of overthinking. Than 3 years of overthinking. So if this conversation is resonating with you, if you've been sitting on your skills, sitting on your expertise, sitting on something people have been telling you to monetize for years, I really want you to stop treating that as background information. Your skills are an asset. Your expertise has value. Your experience, it can literally become ownership. And I said it before and I'm going to say it again. Your job was never meant to be your only plan. It was never meant to be your only plan. I'm going to pause and see if there's any comments or questions in the chat. Thank y'all so much for joining. I see y'all on YouTube. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love. Listen, if this conversation helped you, I want you to give this video a thumbs up. I want you to subscribe to my channel and turn the notifications on. And I want you to send this video to another woman who needs to hear what I had to say today. And before we wrap up, I want you to answer this question in the comments. And that is, what is one skill you already have that could become a second stream of income? If you are ready to build that offer in real time with me, click the link in the description. Registration, early access registration for Her Income Lab is open right now. It closes on Sunday. You can click the link in the description, or you can head over to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. Thanks for the love on YouTube. I see you. herincomeedit.com/workshop, and you can get all the information about Her Income Lab. I really hope to see you in the room. I hope to see you in the room because, like I said, the time is going to go by regardless. It's going to go by. You might as well have an offer that is ready to sell and put in front of people as that time goes by. You might as well start to create options for yourself, for your family, and for your legacy as that time goes by. That is what I'm offering you today. Thank you for everybody that popped in and out of this live. My name is Nick Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit, and I am here every Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time, having a conversation about something that's going on in the coaching industry, about identity shifts that need to happen when you're moving from employee to entrepreneur, because that's not something that needs to be glossed over. So I invite you formally to come back Monday through Friday at noon Mountain Time. Join me for the next conversation. Tomorrow is Thursday. We will be talking about a hot take. Ooh, Thursdays are my favorite. Actually, every day is my favorite, but if I had to pick a favorite, it would have to be Thursday. Because I get to give you my POV. I get to give you my perspective. I really get to give you my opinions about things that are happening in this space. And I often talk about things that not a lot of coaches talk about in this industry. So come back tomorrow for Hot Takes Thursday. I'm going to give you my hot take. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be yet, but you know it's going to be good. Okay? Thanks so much for joining me today. Make sure you get the information you need and register for Her Income Lab. The link is in the description, or head over to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. Thanks so much for joining, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.